This interview was made possible by our friends at My Corporation. Visit mycorporation.com, online incorporation, LLC, and trademark services. Hey everyone, I'm Mike Sullivan. Thanks for joining me on mo.com, where we feature small business owners and entrepreneurs and bring you hints, tips, insights, and perspectives on what it takes to be successful. Joining us today is Aaron Harris from Tutorspree. Aaron is the CEO and co-founder, and Tutorspree is an online company that connects tutors with prospective parents looking for tutors for their family. Aaron, thanks for joining us today. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what circumstances led you down the path to Tutorspree? Why did you start a business surrounding tutors?
I guess I ended up with Tutorspree as sort of a confluence of a lot of different events. I've been working in finance for about 4 years, ever since I graduated from Harvard. And I really enjoyed it for a long time, but then I kind of realized that what I wanted to be doing was actually building products for people that they really enjoyed. And when thinking about that, there were a couple of problems that really interested me. And one of those problems was using clever implementations of technology to disrupt traditionally inefficient markets. So that was like, one of those things rattling around inside of my head. And I've also been always very interested in education and what goes on and how education is evolving. And I was talking to my friend Josh, who's one of my co-founders, and he had this idea built around sort of an eBay for people's time for distance learning. And there was something in there that just fascinated me. And he and I started talking more. And he was actually living in LA at the time. We've been friends for years. And we started talking to parents and to tutors and to students and saying, hey, we're thinking about building this thing. What do you think? And what we started realizing was that the problem wasn't this distance learning thing. The real issue that they had, that parents had, that tutors had, was finding clients or finding tutors nearby and knowing they were good. And so the idea started to evolve around that axis, I guess, until we were building Tutorspree.
Right now, your tutor base is primarily in New York City and the San Francisco Bay Area. Do you plan on expanding that at all?
Absolutely. So we're constantly expanding our tutor base. It's building across the country right now. We have over 1,000, but the way we like to look at it is we want to focus on certain areas to make sure we have the right density of tutors so that parents landing on the site will find something great. So those are the areas that we actively market because we know we have that depth in those two places. So we accept tutors all over the country, and as we hit the right density in those areas, we'll then start to push them and market them more heavily.
What's the selection process like for the tutors? How do parents know that they're getting a quality tutor for their child?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest questions that we faced early on that we continue to sort of work through and refine. It all starts with where we market for our tutors. So we're not just putting up ads for tutors in high school newspapers hoping we'll get some kids to tutor, or even what we've done is basically started with great tutors. So we started going after teachers associations, TFA grads, graduate students, PhD candidates, master's students, things like that. So we started out with that kernel of great tutors, and every person that applies, we look at their profile and we say, does this look right? Do we still have questions about this person? Do we want to work with this person? We then push them through the site if they clear our common sense hurdles. And that's where the community really starts to take over. The tutors can get reviews from old students and put those into the site, and that will help their ranking. But more important than that is actually getting reviews from students on the site. And the way the entire search process is set up, it's all regulated by the feedback that these people start to receive. So the more feedback they get, the better, the higher rank they are. So it's really the community of parents ranking the tutors from a parent's perspective that we think is pretty effective.
Aaron, can you talk a little bit about your business model, about how Tutorspree actually earns its revenue?
Yeah, sure. We wanted to keep things pretty simple. So we take a 50% cut off the first lesson between a parent and a student that we've set up, and then a $5 fee on every lesson after that. And the reason we've structured it that way is we looked at the traditional tutoring agencies, which take 50 to 80% of every dollar spent over the lifetime of a tutoring relationship, and said, well, that's crazy because you guys are essentially a Rolodex, and we should be able to do something a lot smarter and better there. So what we're doing is by squeezing those margins, we actually lower the price of tutoring overall, while tutors still get paid more. So you get a higher quality of tutor at a lower price, and that's kind of a really nice thing.
Tell me about the involvement of Y Combinators in Tutorspree, and what actually is Y Combinators?
Yeah, so Y Combinator is I forget what term they normally use for themselves, but they're a seed stage accelerator in Mountain View, California, founded by Paul Graham, Jessica Livingston, Trevor Blackwell. They were kind of the original three, and Robert Morris. And Paul, Trevor, and Robert started a company in the late 90s called ViaWeb, which they sold to Yahoo, and they're just really, really successful entrepreneurs. And they decided they wanted to help incubate younger companies. And so they built this thing called Y Combinator, where essentially companies, early stage technology companies apply. If you get in, you move to California. They give you a little bit of seed funding, but more important than that, they give you some of the most incredible advice and help that you could possibly find. And so now they've added partners along the way, Harj Thacker, Paul Buchheit. They've now added a few more. And what that basically happens is once a week, all the companies in the batch, and there were, I think, 40 of us in our batch, show up for dinner. And then throughout the week, if you need help, you basically put in a request and you go in to meet with one of the partners for 20 minutes and they give you just unbelievable advice. And the cool thing about it, the coolest thing for us was that we knew going out there we'd be with a lot of really, really smart, really driven, really accomplished people. What we were incredibly surprised and pleased by was how nice everyone was. I mean, everyone we were involved with just fundamentally wanted us to do incredibly well. And it rubs off on everything they do.
For those that might not have any idea, can you kind of describe the challenges and rewards that go along with starting a new business?
Yeah. It's funny because I think about this every day. I've worked for, the last company I worked for was one of the largest hedge funds in the world. And they just had an unbelievable amount of infrastructure, and anything you needed just kind of showed up. I need a notebook. Notebook shows up at your desk, right? Like that's just so easy. When you're running your own company, none of that happens. I need pens. I walk out to Staples and I buy them, right? And so it's funny because you could look at it from one perspective and say, oh, look at all these inconveniences. This sucks. But I look at it from the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. Everything we do that we've accomplished is the work of what we've done, right? Like it wouldn't have happened had we not been out there pounding the pavement every single day and working. And we've decided what we wanted to do at every step of the way. So that autonomy, that ability to set the vision of what you do with your life every day is just, it's kind of an unparalleled experience. And look, it could all go crashing down and we have no safety net. And that's part of the excitement, right? It's like, wow, this is really all on our shoulders. If we screw this up, well, no one's gonna, pull the fat out of the fire for us. We gotta do it ourselves. So it's pretty awesome.
Hey, Aaron, thanks a lot for talking with me.
No problem. Have a great night, Mike.